Hello everyone, welcome back, and in this video we're going to be discussing 3 trades that happened on the first day of free agent frenzy. We'll get to all that coming up right now. Hello and welcome to another video here at the Anthony Duclair channel. Now, there was a lot of action that happened on Free Agent Frenzy. For those of you who tuned into my live video, I really appreciate it. I think we had a really good live video on the start of Free Agent Frenzy, and I know I talked about a lot of things in that video, but I'm going to have a couple of separate videos, either later today or early tomorrow, discussing each team's free agent signings on day 1. So I'm going to go through each and every team, discuss how each team laid out, who got signed on day 1, and I'm going to be doing that either later today or early tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But in this video here, I want to talk about the 3 trades that went down last night. So there wasn't too many big time deals. There were a lot of significant ones though, so I talked about a couple of them during my live stream. I didn't talk about one of them, so we'll get to all 3 of them here. The first one that happened, the Montreal Canadiens traded Joel Edmundson to the Washington Capitals at 50% of his contract retained in exchange for 2 draft picks. The Minnesota Wild's 3rd round pick in this next year's draft, and the Washington Capitals' own 7th round pick this next year's draft. So this is a pretty good deal for both sides. I was expecting maybe a little bit more of a return for Edmundson. He's a solid top 4 defenseman, and I think he can definitely improve a team like the Washington Capitals. So I thought the Canadiens could easily get like a 2nd round pick for him, but they get a couple of good selections, which I think is not too bad. So for Montreal, they were not going to be able to bring back Edmundson after this season. There was a lot of talk that they could have traded him at the deadline as well, but with all of his injury problems and all of the problems he's been having over the past little while, at least getting him traded before the season starts negates the option of him not being moved because of injury. So getting him dealt at this point in time, I think, was the smart move for the Canadiens, especially given the fact he was injured last year, the year before as well. So that was a good move for the Canadiens. They needed to get him off the books, so he's gone now. That opens up a roster spot. They can either sign another veteran defenseman, or they can go bring in another one of the younger forwards. So I think it's a really good move for the Canadiens. Edmondson's a solid defenseman, and he's really good, but with him entering the final year of his contract, most likely not returning after next year, I do think that was a smart move, given the fact that he's been injured. They could not move him at the deadline, then he could walk via free agency. So they at least get something for him. They do have to retain 50% of his salary, but with the Canadiens having so much cap space, besides the Carey Price contract, I don't think it's overly significant for them. So that's a really good move for the Canadiens, in my opinion. They get a 3rd and 7th round pick. The Wild 3rd round pick, the Capitals acquired in the Dmitry Orlov trade, so it's a decent 3rd round pick. It could probably be like a mid-level pick in this year's draft in the 3rd round, and they also get some more draft capital with the 7th pick. So pretty good deal for the Canadiens. I thought Edmundson would have gone more for them, but still a pretty good deal for them. As for the Washington Capitals, this is a fantastic deal for them. Like I said, I thought Edmundson would have at least gotten like a 2nd, so to not have to give up too much to get Edmundson is a really good deal for Washington. I said they could probably have one more top 4 defenseman a couple of times on my off-season preview for the Caps. So getting Edmundson, I think, really rounds out that top 4. Is a good veteran. They already signed guys like Jensen and Trevor Van Riemsdyk to new extensions, and they still have a couple of good young guys like Sandin. They have a Carlson. So I think Edmundson really does round out that team. I think he should definitely be playing top 4 minutes with someone on the right side. So I definitely think that's a really good deal for the Capitals, and I think Edmundson should really bolster that D-core. So really good deal for them. They also give him 50% of his salary, so it's not overly expensive to take him. I really do like this trade for both sides. So for the Capitals, they get a good top 4 defenseman in Edmundson, who should be able to help them for the next little while. And for the Canadiens, they get a couple of decent draft picks for a player who's probably not coming back after next year. So a pretty good deal between those 2 teams. Another deal that I discussed during my live video was the Colin Miller trade to New Jersey. The Dallas Stars traded Colin Miller to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for a 2025 5th round pick. So that was a pretty good deal for both sides. The Stars needed some cap space. The Stars also have a really good blue line, and they had a couple of depth defensemen who I think could have been moved, like a Hakanpää or a Miller, who are decent 3rd pair defensemen, but I think one of them was probably the odd man out in the Stars organization, and they wind up trading Miller. So Miller has 1 year left on his contract, a $1.85 million cap hit. It's not overly expensive, so they get some more cap space to get a roster spot. So that was a pretty good move for Dallas. Dallas. They get a 5th round pick in return, which I think is pretty good value for Colin Miller. 2025 5th round pick. So 2 years down the road, they'll be able to get a mid-level draft pick. So it's a pretty good deal for the Stars, in my opinion, to get rid of Miller, get a draft pick. It's a pretty good deal for them. As for the Devils, they lost a guy like Ryan Graves earlier in the day to free agency. They already lost a guy like Damon Severson. They're most likely going to have a couple of younger guys like Houston Nemec be regular NHL defensemen next year. So they need another good veteran who can help them fill out another spot on the third line. And I think Miller definitely does that. Miller should definitely be challenging with a guy like Brendan Smith for like the 6th role on the team, like a solid third pair role. And I think that's a really good deal for the New Jersey Devils. So, in my opinion, Devils will get a good depth defenseman, someone who can really help round out the roster. On a younger blue line, I think he'd be a really good player to have, and he could definitely be a good solid third-pair defenseman. For the Stars, they need cap space, they get cap space, and they get a 2025 5th-round pick. So, a pretty good deal for both sides. And then the deal I did not discuss that happened after my live stream was between the San Jose Sharks and the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers sent San Jose Anthony Duclair, and in exchange got Steven Lorentz and a 2025 5th-round pick. So this was a pretty good deal in my opinion. There was a lot of talk that Duclair was going to be moved by the Panthers. They do wind up moving him. Duclair's a really good middle six, speedy winger. He's on a not too bad contract, 1 year at $3 million. Not exactly sure how long he'll be remaining on San Jose. I think for a time being, he could definitely fit into the middle six of San Jose, really be a good offensive winger, produce well, but the Sharks are not an overly great team right now. They're probably going to miss the playoffs next year, so there's a big chance, I think, that if Duclair's still on their team at around the trade line, they're not doing too well, the Sharks could move him out for a pretty good return. So I think it's a pretty good deal for the Sharks. They take down the cap of Duclair for now. They're able to improve that middle six on the forward group. And after that, they're able to improve the middle six of the team. And if they're not doing overly well, Duclair could be dealt at the trade line in exchange for a decent return. That's a pretty good move for the Sharks, being able to acquire a good top 9 forward for nothing really, and they should be able to move him at the deadline if they're not doing too well for a decent return. As for the Florida Panthers, they get a cheaper forward in Steven Lorentz. Lorentz also in the final year of his deal, only making just over $1 million. So he's a good bomb six forward. He can put up some points. So I think that's a really good move for the Panthers. Not as offensively gifted as Duclair, but still a pretty good forward there. And they also get a 5th-round pick. So some more draft capital for the future. So that's a pretty good deal for Florida. Once again, I don't think it's overly great to lose Duclair, but once again, they're another team that needed cap space. They're able to save just around $2 million off of this, and it's a pretty good deal for them. So in my opinion, that's a really good deal for the Sharks to get Duclair and to get some cap space for the Panthers to go do other things. They also get a decent bottom six forward in Lorentz, and they also get a 5th-round pick. So in my opinion, all 3 of these trades were pretty good. In my opinion, I think the Caps won the Edmundson deal, given the fact they were able to get a good top 4 defenseman in exchange for just a couple of lower end draft selections. I think the Devils win the Miller trade just because they're able to get a good solid third pair defenseman in exchange for a 5th-round pick. And I think the Sharks do win the Duclair trade, given the fact they get Duclair, who should be able to fit into the middle six, eventually maybe be a trade chip at the deadline. And I think getting him is just a little bit better than what Florida was able to get. So in my opinion, 3 really good trades on trade deadline day. There's most likely going to be some more later on, whether it be later today or in the future. So I'm definitely have some more videos discussing all of those future ones, but definitely have to hear your opinion down in the comments. Do the Sharks improve with the Duclair trade? Does the Devils win this deal because they are able to get Colin Miller? And how good do you think the Washington Capitals did on the Edmundson deal? Definitely let me know down in the comments. I really would love to hear what you think. But remember, that's all for this video. Don't forget to stay tuned for future videos I'll be having on recapping draft day 1 signings for both the West and East Conference. So I'll have those ones either later today or earlier tomorrow. So definitely don't forget to check those out. And remember to leave a like. And if you really liked it, remember to subscribe down below. We're closing in on 100 subscribers. So hopefully you guys can subscribe and continue to like my content. I also do a blog talking about rumors, news, trades, stuff like that. So definitely check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.